All right, Bowling, I'm going to bring you in on this.
Okay, so give me a second here. So I heard all the rundown. I heard at 3 o'clock all about what they used to enhance, interrogate. What?
I'm a little kid with you.
I have no idea what you're talking about. You cut me off. I get it. Yeah. Okay, so I heard all about the techniques that they use, the enhanced interrogation. I heard too much of it, to be honest with you. Here's what we do know. The CIA briefed Congress 30 times. The briefings were detailed and graphic and drew reactions that ranged from approval to no objection. In September of 2006, the administration decided to brief full committee and staff directors. There was no consensus, which means proceed. Senator John D. Rockefeller, the ranking Democrat on the Senate Intelligence Committee, said about Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, he's in safekeeping under American protection. He'll be grilled by us. I'm sure we'll be proper with him, but I'm sure we'll be very, very tough on him. That aside, now, what happened? So the CIA interrogated Abu Zubaydah, who led us to Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, who turned around and called people or contacted people in the dark zones, in the dark areas, and said, be careful who you talk to and what you say. That turned over al-Kuwaiti. Al-Kuwaiti happened to be bin Laden's courier. We followed al-Kuwaiti to Islamabad, where we found bin Laden. Here's the point. If President Obama wants to take a victory lap for getting bin Laden, he better realize that it all came from enhanced interrogation by the CIA. Don't go and say GM is alive, but bin Laden's dead without giving a hat tip to the CIA interrogation.
That's what led to Abbottabad. Okay, go ahead.
Well, first of all, the thing that struck me about this is that George Bush did not hear about these actions until 2006. When he did, his reaction was fairly negative about it. It also was clear that they did not follow the guidelines of their own Justice Department. The CIA went outside the bounds of that. And the fact of the matter is, if we do this sort of thing, and if we stand for anything in this world, it stands for justice and following the rule of law. And these guys went way outside the bounds of it, beyond what the President of the United States thought was doing. I'm not surprised about Dick Cheney. He'd do about anything. But in this case, I think that even George Bush did not know what was going on here. And I think he did not like it.
Dick Cheney would do what is lawfully approved, which this was, and there were plenty of investigations and no criminal charges filed. No. He would do what it takes to protect this country, because all the rest of us are sitting around this table enjoying the benefits of not having another mass casualty attack in the United States, since they were able to garner this very important intelligence.
Because of these torture techniques? You think that's the reason? And there's absolutely no proof.
I didn't say it was a direct proximate cause.
No,
but it certainly played in.
There's supposition. The FBI doesn't agree with that.
I think that this report has to be taken with a huge grain of salt. They did not talk to anybody that was actually in the program. Not a single interrogator talked to them for the report. So I am not willing to say that this report is actually the end-all, be-all, the comprehensive report that they're trying to make it out to be. I would point people to a report, a 39-page document, and the reason I say 39 pages is because it struck me. It is thorough and thought out by a guy named Jason Beal. That's a pseudonym that he uses. He was an interrogator. And if you go to the weeklystandard.com website, Stephen Hayes both talks to him and puts up the entire 39 pages that walks you through from an interrogator standpoint. And if you care about this issue at all and you want to believe the Senate Democrats, I think that you are under an obligation to read somebody like John Beal's work as well. I did today, and I was persuaded by it. Imagine if the Democrats were so disturbed by law-breaking behavior by government employees at a place like, say, the IRS. I mean, imagine the kinds of things that we might be able to find out that are happening to Americans, not to terrorists. What is more infuriating, 9/11 attacks and the atrocities brought by, over and over again by radicalized terrorists, or the interrogations that our CIA sought to do in order to protect us?
All right, let's bring in some sound. Charles Krauthammer to shed some more light on this.
When you hear the president's spokesman say that they know that it could endanger Americans, you ask yourself, why would the president insist on the release of this, knowing that it could lead to the death of Americans serving under him as commander-in-chief?
Tom.
Exactly. Why are you releasing information if it's going to hurt Americans? And, you know, I think that why do we have notes at all? Why are there notes from this? Why is there stuff to release? These are supposed to be black sites. I don't understand why they're writing any of this down. right?
Because they were following the law.
That is the problem. I mean, I think that is the issue, right? In the Bush administration, they did try to follow the law. You remember John Yoo? He had, he went with a fine-tooth comb, went through all of their policies to make sure that they were up against that line of legality. What good did that do?
Yeah, he drafted it all, and then they wanted to prosecute him for doing his job.
They
and
called
all
it the torture memos.
Right, but all of these things already have been adjudicated. There was no illegal activity taking place. So if anyone has tried to say otherwise, they are not having a good relationship with the truth and the facts. Because also, when you look at this report, like Dana mentioned, no CIA personnel, any of the interrogators, anyone involved with it was even allowed to proffer any testimony, evidence whatsoever for the report. So what you're getting then is secondhand. You're not even getting it directly from the people who in fact participated in it. So I don't see how that can be considered a full and fair accounting of exactly what transpired. And instead what we have is now we put our allies that were so courageous on our behalf, we put them in a bad position, and now this is just waving the flag for more jihadists to be able to be recruited to pour into Syria and other places to do Americans and our allies harm.
But none of this has not been out already. I mean, it's not as if this is a brand new revelation on a lot of people's parts. And secondly, when you talk to people who've done the enhancement, talk about Saudi Arabia and the basement torture chambers they use. We turn these guys over to the Saudis. How are you going to interrogate the Saudis? And by the way, it does say, but Hugh said what they said in no uncertain terms is they went beyond what the Justice Department guidelines were. Now, they didn't prosecute as a result of that. I understand that.
These were all techniques that were briefed. The Senate and the House were both briefed on 30 occasions. I told you about that. They couldn't come up with a no. They didn't tell them stop doing it. They didn't tell them not to do it. They went forward. Here are a couple of fallouts from it. First of all, for the record, I still think it's okay to do something like this as long as it's done in a fair way. I think the enhanced interrogation techniques, I think they served their purpose. I think they made us safer. The producers are going to hate me for doing this. Yeah, take the wide. Here, look, I watched my friends jump out of these buildings. I saw friends leap out of these buildings on 9/11. ISIS is beheading Americans. What's worse, that or Khalid Sheikh Mohammed getting some water splashed on his face, or someone else getting slapped, or hearing loud music, or kept awake for 100 hours
loud music and awake for 3 days. It's called law school, preparing for the bar exam.
I get the feeding thing because it sounds like a big, bad thing. I have friends who don't have a father right now because they went to work one day expecting to come home and didn't, okay? Their kids don't have fathers, but the friends don't have husbands. What's better, some enhanced interrogation or 3,000 more Americans dying another time?
Yeah, I have a comment about it. I feel terribly sorry about your friends, but that does not change the fact that the United States of America lives by rules and morality that the rest of the world, most of them don't. And for us to step over that line and to do these things.
What line, Bob? The line wasn't overstepped. It was legal. It was
there. Was no
they were made aware of it.
There was no illegal activity. Everything they did was sanctioned and put together in reports. There was no criminal prosecution from this. Do you understand that? It's now looking after and years and saying, we don't like what you did. Well, why didn't you? Any of the senators were on this intelligence committee and were privy to this information. Why didn't you object then? And why are you doing it now?
Yes.
Coming up, President Obama called